everyone. Welcome to Crime in Court. This is an episode of the Delphi homicides. We are talking obviously about the homicide of the young girls Abby Williams and Liberty German, who unfortunately lost their lives back in 2017 in Delphi, Indiana. Richard Allen has been he was on trial. He went through everything. He's now been convicted. He's been sentenced to 130 years for a crime I don't believe he did. And there's so much evidence to prove otherwise that at least that the state is acting in bad faith, and these charges and the convictions should be dropped, in my opinion. So we're going to talk today. We've got a couple Ricci letters that we're going to read through because if you recall from an episode I did previously in the Delphi series, the state, the defense filed a motion to preserve evidence, and one of the things in their motion had to do with these Ricci Davis letters. So Ricci Davis is an inmate who he doesn't know Richard Allen, but he knows two other individuals who confessed separately to him at different times about their participation in the homicides. And he began to come to the conclusion. He was told originally, so he met with Ron Logan and Keegan Kline, who, if you've watched my channel, if you follow this case, those names should ring a bell. Ron Logan is the gentleman. This is the man whose property the girls were found on. And Keegan Kline supposedly knew Ron Logan. They supposedly exchanged exploitation of child rhymes with corn. Um, so they knew each other from that. Keegan Kline was also a suspect early on. He was arrested for soliciting pictures and images and things, exploiting young children, underage girls. And so that's what he's in prison for right now. Ron Logan had some other outstanding something, I don't know, but he also has a violent past because Ron Logan, if you recall, I did a whole episode on him, and he had a former girlfriend or fiance who said that he hit her in the head with like a tool, like a wrench or something. I can't remember what it was, but he had been violent with her many times, and she said that she believed he could be one of the perpetrators. So let's backtrack a little bit, going back to the state's response now. We're not going to we've read through the state's response. So the defense filed their motion saying, we want the state to preserve this evidence. We've got, reason to believe that this inmate, Ricci Davis, has been communicating with Nick McClelland, and we never received any letters. We never received any audio. There's supposedly a audio of him talking about what Ron Logan and Keegan Kline had talked to him about. So Richard Allen's team never received this, and this was all happening prior to trial. There were letters that were mailed to Nick McClelland prior to Richard Allen's trial, which should have been turned over to the defense. So this is a major Brady violation. And if you recall, in the state's response to that, it was kind of like yeah, it's no big deal, whatever. It was only 3 letters, not 7 as he said, and all this other bogus stuff. So basically, he's trying to downplay Richard Allen, or he's trying to downplay all of it. And in Nick McClelland's response, he basically calls the defense attorneys liars and making up some kind of false narrative and spinning some kind of narrative. He he talks about receiving 3 letters as opposed to 7, which Ricci Davis says he sent approximately 7. The state was able to only recover 2, if you recall. 2 out of 3. that they say existed or were ever sent. For whatever reason, he says that he uses the word recover. So he says the state is only able to recover two out of the three letters. So what did he do with the other one? Destroy it? Recover it? What does that mean? Like you shredded it? So now you had to tape it back up and send it to the defense? Like what? What does recover mean? Because these are like actual paper letters mailed through the mail. So how do they I don't know. It's just the choice of his wording there just kind of like you did something with it, trying to hide it. He also says that the letters are not exculpatory, so someone else confessing to a crime that you're being falsely charged for is not exculpatory, apparently. Someone else basically admitting to that, confessing wholeheartedly to it, it's not exculpatory in the state of Indiana, at least in Carroll County. He also said, so I'm just kind of reviewing some of the highlights of his response. I know you can't see it, but I'm just kind of reviewing some of the things to refresh my mind. So again, he hints at the fact that Andrew Baldwin's lying. He calls him an ignorant lawyer. I missed that the first time around. He says that Andy, oh no, I'm sorry. He goes on to tell us that Ricci called Andrew Baldwin an ignorant lawyer because at first Ricci, like I said, believed that Richard Allen was a part of it. So in the beginning, Ron Logan originally first came to him and confessed to these crimes. He said that there were other individuals involved. So at the time, he just figured, okay, Richard Allen's one of those other perpetrators. But then this other inmate comes, Keegan Klein, and starts asking, because he found out that Logan was talking to him, so he starts asking, Logan wasn't talking about me, was he? And like, then eventually Reese and him started building kind of a f- I I want to say friendship, but Reese wasn't friends with this guy. He was only trying to get information. So basically, he was, playing it cool with Keegan Klein. Keegan Klein confesses to all this stuff now, and he puts it together in his own mind like these two are in on it together. And he concluded that there was no other individual, or if it was, it's not Richard Allen. I think Ron Logan actually told him that as well. So the original letters of the very early on letters, he thought that Richard Allen could be part of the crimes. Now now that he's, later on after he's learned more and everything, he has begun to believe that Richard Allen had nothing to do with this. So I wanted to give you that background. I know that was kind of lengthy, but I think it was important because he also calls Reese a liar and tries to disparage Reese in his letters, saying he's not credible, and call Keegan Klein credible when he's been known to lie more than most people. So that's I wanted to give you that kind of background because that's where we're kind of going to start off. So let me shrink myself. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. It really does help. All right. So this is part of an exhibit that Nick McClellan entered with his response to the defense's motion to preserve evidence. So he's giving this as proof. All of this is redacted, by the way, so we don't know what's redacted and if any of the redactions actually do. I don't know if the defense has this without the redactions, but at this point, this is all we know. So let me backtrack. This is the Indiana Department of Correction Special Mail Q. So all of the letters written for Reese Davis to Carroll County are supposedly on this queue. Well, how do we know that it's accurate? Number one. Number two, how do we know that the things that are blocked out don't depict letters from Reese to Carroll County prosecutor? So I have an issue with this particular document. I I feel like it needs some authentication. But anyways, so this is Ricci emailing or mailing, sorry, not emailing, mailing an attorney. We've got back here, we've got Huntington County Superior Court clerk. So that might have to do with his case. Again, the attorney also above was probably his case. This is the clerk of the Southern District Court. I'm sure that's his case, or I'm assuming it's his case. This is same thing, Southern District Court, Attorney Jonathan Little. And that is, I'm sure this is all for his case more so. Okay, here we start getting into the Carroll County Court prosecutor. So on 10/15/2024 is when it was mailed from Ricci to Nick McLeland, or just the general prosecutor. And so that was 10 what? 14? What did I say it was? 10/15, sorry. So there's a 10/15, October 15th, 2024. This is 10/4/2024. Same thing to Carroll County Prosecutor. And then this is 10/21/2024. So these are at least three specific letters that Nick McClelland has the evidence of receiving. There's evidence that they were mailed, and yet he only turned over two. And we're going to read through those two, and bear with me because some of the writing is a little difficult, but I've already, I've proofed these and I've tried to read through them before, so hopefully we won't have too many problems, but my eyes suck, and I can't guarantee anything. But this is the first letter. We don't know actually which one was the first. I'm trying to see the date on the US postage and I can't. um, oh, it says October 4th. And then this one says October 23rd it was received. So, what do you think? Would it be, oh, wait, would it have been this one, the 21st, that he received it? Because they mailed one on the 21st. Would it get there that fast? I doubt it. So that one was received oh, yeah, the 23rd. Okay. It would get there the 23rd, I bet. And then this one was October 4th. So that means that there was another letter before October 4th? Oh no, because that's the mail date. Okay, I'm confusing myself. So that's the mail date, and then that's the receive date. So they're doing it in okay. Okay, that makes sense. So this was mailed. This was the October 4th letter, and this was the state's exhibit. And notice that the two letters that they put forth are like anti Richard Allen, like, thinking that he's homicidal. All right, so Delphi homicides, dear chief prosecutor. And Annie has a note up here that says information on Keegan Klein and Richard Allen. So my name is Reese Davis. I am incarcerated at the Newcastle Correctional Facility. I wasn't comfortable writing for fear of not being taken serious. However, this has to be heard. There are several aspects that at first may seem all over the place. However, if I don't explain it all, you'll get confused, so forgive me. I'll do my best here. Back some years ago, a man named Ron Logan came here to Newcastle, and I daily conversated with him, and a lot of things he opened up about made my ex-girlfriend contact the FBI trying to do the right thing, to say the least. So things that Ron Logan told Reese, he relayed back to his girlfriend. It concerned his girlfriend so much that she contacted the FBI. First, fast forward with up until now, today, there also has been another guy who was transferred here from another prison back in early March 2014 by the name of no, that's 2019 because that would be after the homicides. By the name of Keegan Klein. For the last 6 months, He seemed to need a friend and quickly, very recklessly, began to talk of beating the system. And glad it is, and he said he was glad that it is Richard Allen who was caught up, however, feared that he would run his mouth. So he was glad Richard Allen was in the hot seat for this. He was talking about beating the system, and he feared that he might run his mouth too much about something about this crime. He says, note, I am in a protective custody unit with 98% child you know whaters, and trust me, the people speak and brag on their cases as it is a cool thing. I am here on drug charges. However, Keegan Klein assured Keegan Klein assumed I must have a SA case as well and began talking, and I slowly took information as he appeared to build trust with me. Oddly, since an earlier report by my ex girlfriend was made regarding Mr. Logan, out of nowhere, this lawyer pops up to visit me, Richard Allen's lawyer, Andrew Baldwin. So Andrew Baldwin gets a tip from the FBI, I bet, or saw it in the discovery that was turned over that she had called the FBI. And so Baldwin here comes to visit Ricci Davis in prison. This is before trial. He comes to see Ricci Davis. He says, Baldwin or something, wanting to know if I would come testify on Richard Allen's behalf regarding Logan. I told him no because I already planned on contacting you, Nick McClellan, knowing the information to do with Klein. I never told him about Klein because the information involved Richard Allen, Keegan Klein, and Ron Logan, although he was now passed, as you know. So Ron Logan passed away. And at this point, he's making it he's saying he didn't say anything to Andy Baldwin because at this point he believed that it was Richard Allen, Keegan Klein, and Ron Logan all involved at the same time. I will now explain what Klein has told me, and I'll share the evidence he informed me of so you see I'm doing this in good faith. Keegan told me him and his dad were working a hustle. So they were whatever. They're criminals. Him and his dad, Keegan Klein. They were working a hustle from his back page, making big money from child images. Every 6 months, they brought burner phones for clients, and Richard Allen and Logan were two of them. He doesn't know that for sure. He's thinking that Richard Allen is one of them because he was never told otherwise. And he thinks that, because Logan said there were three people, so he's thinking that Richard Allen could be one of the three. Again, he's not. But they brought burner phones for clients, and Richard Allen and Logan were two of them and received new phones from Keegan. From what I was told, they'd done a lot of things of thinking too. So I want you to remember, like, whatever he says, it's not up to us to say Reese's credible or not credible or whatever. I mean, yes, we can think that or determine that, but the things that I believe Reese, and I think that whether or not the things that Ron Logan and Keegan Klein were saying were true, this definitely is a ginormous Brady violation. And I hope that Nick McClellan gets severe punishment for this because this is horrible what they did to Richard Allen. And on top of it, now we know that there's Brady information that Nick McClellan had in his hands the day of trial that he could have turned over to the defense. Continuing on. He says, I am told they all had their hands in this homicide and feels relieved someone has the fall and isn't going to talk. This Allen guy sold a firearm to Keegan for these burner phones he supplied. That's if you believe Keegan. Keegan might be lying, So they could be trying to implicate Richard Allen in some way just to make it seem like, oh yeah, yeah, he's part of it too. Like he's not innocent, even though he is. So Keegan somehow had the Abbey girl victim take pictures of herself and traded them between the three, Alan, Keegan, and Logan. Richard Allen set up meeting the girls with Logan. However, they met at Logan's home drinking. Logan and Keegan met up with the girls as Alan was at the farm. What farm? Keegan had the firearm and Logan had a carpet knife to scare the girls. They walked the girls back to the house where Alan waited. I was unsure about the story being a lot of details, however, I pretended interested over time. Here is some details only the perpetrators would know and maybe yourself so you can weigh the information out. So he's even saying like, I don't know if any of this is true. I'm not sure what I'm telling you, but this is what they told me. Here's some more details that they told me that, maybe you can like compare to the crime scene and see if, they're telling the truth, like a real investigator would do, or someone who has sworn an oath to uphold. But anywho, so yeah, he's like, I got to get this information to you. You do what you want with it. He informed me that him and Alan moved the bodies 3 times, and they were not taken where the girls were found. So their lives weren't taken where their bodies were found, which we kind of know because it looked like there were signs of them being moved, of the crime scene being staged, and things like that. He informed me that they moved the bodies 3 times and then that the girls were not taken where they were found. He said that they staged the scene, whatever that means. The youngest girl was kept alive longer, and Alan didn't want to take her life, but Keegan made him because it was too late. He said they all got nervous leaving town in their own cars and went out to the Lafayette to get rid of evidence. So they went out to a big Lafayette, I'm assuming, is like the big city near Delphi. So they went there to probably throw stuff out, or maybe it's the dump. I don't know. I honestly don't see him making all this up. However, if it appears he did for some sick reason, I just dismiss this letter. If he If by chance it seems to meet the evidence you are dealing with, you are welcome to come speak with me. To be honest, I'm only comfortable speaking with you for the moment. Please understand as the as the snitch label. Please understand that the snitch label is real in prison. However, I will talk to you for the time being. Sincerely yours, Ricci Davis. Take care. Then he has a PS. I also saved a note from Keegan. He wrote up, look down, or no, sorry, he wrote up on lockdown. He wrote a note, Keegan Klein wrote a note on lockdown that don't say a lot, but he talks a little in it about, well, something if you something something. I don't know. I can't tell what that says. But so that is the first letter. Here is the second letter, received October 23rd, 2024. Dear Mr. McLeland, if you will look back on record, the same so bear in mind Reese was getting frustrated with Nick McLeland because McLeland wasn't responding, wasn't writing him back, wasn't coming to visit him. He had said, like, you can come visit me. I have this information. You should come here. And he was getting frustrated that he wasn't getting a response from McLeland. So he might reference that in here somewhere. So if you will look back on record, the same information now being released, the evidence I done reported. I reported that the girls were cut up and that their throats were cut back in 2018. I reported the girls were moved and hidden in a barn and drove around until the search started. I reported that Mr. Logan left town, leaving the girls with two others until he got back because Logan got nervous. Do you think the two others could have been Keegan and his dad, perhaps? Maybe his dad was there? I don't know. All right. So recently, as I previously wrote, it's hard to read his writing and he spells things wrong too. So recently, as I previously wrote, I learned now the last 5 months who else were involved. You have one now in Keegan Klein. So he's saying like you have a suspect now, you know, that's one who was involved. So this time he's still thinking Alan's involved and Keegan Klein. If I ever had 5 minutes to explain, you would see they all three are involved. I offered the detective who came to see me in 2018 just to put a wire on and let them conclude for themselves what all Logan was saying. So he was like, "Wire me. I just let Logan talk and you'll see that he's part of this." McClelland, they denied or declined the offer, which made no sense when it was a perfect opportunity as it is a perfect investigation tool for two reasons. First, it would have provided the information from the source and to eliminate misinformation of the reality of trusting the inmate's credibility is within danger zone. I get it because he's saying because trusting me, you don't want to just blindly trust me, so this would solve that. The problem was the detective and examiner came with the mindset of not wanting or not willing to believe me before I ever spoke. I have a disability of Tourette syndrome as it provokes my nervous system. I take several medications for treatment and they gave me no chance to explain these facts. That is the reason I just simply offered to just put a wire on and allow it to be on record. So he gets nervous. He's like, just put it on record, put a wire on me, and then I don't have to speak, and you can just let Ron Logan speak. He'll do the speaking. Fast forward, I was visited by an attorney, Andy Baldwin, who is representing Richard Allen about 2.5 months ago, he says, which is actually, it was several more months than that. I imagine your sense of time in prison kind of goes out the door. I didn't know who he was. However, he stated that uh, he was investigating past reports and my name came up. He informed me that the information I gave in 2017 aligned with the actual evidence of the homicide scene. He asked if I would come to testify at this trial. I told him no, and the reason was knowing his client, Keegan Klein and Ron Logan, all are involved. Long story short, I wasn't going to help because I was planning on reporting the information to your office. So he thinks he's doing the right thing. He thinks he can trust this prosecutor. He thinks the prosecutor is honest, like most people, want to think that our law enforcement and our court officers are playing by the rules as they should be. This guy's not. So sending him all this stuff and not getting a response, kind of telling, I think. Long story short, I wasn't going to help because I was planning on reporting the information to your office, Mr. McClellan, this ignorant lawyer. So he calls Baldwin an ignorant lawyer. Was hinting me to lie for him and his client, saying, well, that I should know how it is. I don't know how that's hinting to lie, but whatever. All right. So please hear me out. No, I can never relate to child homiciders. I don't know what, I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but I don't want to say that word because, YouTube. Um, so people who take the lives of children, I don't know what planet that this attorney is on. It felt insulting in a way. He indicated this occult issue, remember the Frank's memo and the Odinism stuff, uh, he is he is far from right because Klein told me they staged the scene because Ron knew that they were coming after him because by the time the girls were taken, the police were everywhere and through the night and there was no way to get the girls out of the area. I hope that we can speak because although Logan has passed away, the other two need to face the consequences. I've been afraid that I'm not taken seriously and Keegan will somehow get off and not see his day in court. I pray while I pray wholeheartedly that you'll allow me to explain everything so that you can compare the information to validate. I don't expect to be believed, however, you compare the information. Thank you. And as I promised, I would send the note Keegan wrote and I'll send with this. So he sent notes from Keegan that he wrote in lockdown and things like that where they were discussing the homicides, and he sent it in the letter with these to McClelland. And finally, we do have another letter from Ricci Davis. Those were the only two that actually were sent to Nick McClelland. This is a letter sent much later. This was after the trial. So this came out after the trial. He sends this to Max Lewis, news reporter from Fox 59 News. I've used him as a source when they were because he was a good uh, reporter for what was going on in the courtroom. He was there a lot of the days. And so it doesn't surprise me that he reached out to someone that was uh, invested in this case and reporting on it daily. So he wrote, Dear Max Lewis slash news reporter and publishers, Fox 59 News. This is regarding the missed interview to the Delphi homicides by Ron Logan in the Indiana Correctional Facility. I am sorry of the additional blocks of my continued effort of being able to speak of this. It has been a rough road of fighting against suspicious behavior of Carroll County, getting ahead reporting that I simply failed a polygraph. So Carroll County comes forward and says Reese failed this polygraph, even though basically just trying to discredit him. So to many, that would sound of legitimate reasoning to disregard, and the DA accusing of dishonesty with reckless regard of truth himself, and knowing my information will cause answers by the community demanded in addition to integrity within the trust of bringing forward this case toward Richard Allen. Although I am the furthest the furthest fan of people who commit certain types of crimes, but to agree to allow a, offender, a sex offender, walk right out of prison on your watch with a promise that if you are elected into office, you would do so. Hold on. Let me reread that. Although I am the furthest fan of people who commit certain types of crimes, but to argue to allow a sex offender walk right out of prison on your watch with a promise that if you are elected into office, you would do so. I was told by Ron Logan in advance that Nicholas McClelland told a couple family members of Logan's and Ron Logan himself, quote, if I am elected, I will let Ron out. I don't believe he committed that crime. End quote. McClelland was referred as a longtime family friend and will have his back. So Nick McClelland is friends with Ron Logan and promised to let him out of prison. And I believe Ron was not joking either. When the investigation was sent, I am the one treated as I'd done something wrong. I was who requested to be placed on a polygraph. It was made all about my motives, media attention. It was not about maybe I'm a man who has kids myself and felt deeply for the baby girls and the families. I was asked to take the important, most significant facts, placing into less than 2 paragraphs by writing them on the paper. I would have written the longest paragraphs. Um, if I've been asking to, yeah, right. If I've been speaking to Ron Logan for months, how can I limit it to 2 sentences? I was just told to do the best I could. In return, I could be charged with perjury, and if I wrote truthfully, it was ambiguous to ask because was the information Logan said truthful? I did not have such answer, but I knew I was no, but I knew I was. So he knew he was being honest, but he didn't know if what Logan was telling him was truthful. No one would answer, just informed, just do the best I can. So no one answered him. He was just informed to do the best he could. All I wanted was to talk like something like me, like I don't know what that word is. If anybody can figure that out, let me know. I was so upset. I just offered to give me a recording. So he suggested to give me a recording device, and under full observation, they will have a recorded confession by Ron Logan. I was told, "Nah, Mr. Davis, it's okay. It isn't necessary, really." So he was like, "No, no, no, put a wire on me. I swear he will talk." And they're like, "Nah, that's all right. We don't need a confession from somebody who had a part in these homicides. Don't worry about it. It only ripped apart our community, but no, we don't need it." This cannot be denied by Mr. McClellan, the DA, as the entire setting was fully recorded by video. It is undisputed facts that he can make. Of course, he has made effort to silence my genuine efforts. It gets worse. While Richard Allen was about to go on trial, once again I attempt to notify the three who were involved once more. There were facts and evidence to lead them to, but he would not speak to me since it related to Logan. Not one letter, not two or three, but 7 letters before he convicted an innocent man. I at first believed Richard Allen possibly had his hand in it. However, the same evidence that I previously reported, he'd taken the same before the jury, making the case against another man with a straight face. So he's taking lies to the jury and doing it with a straight face. And I realized then all I was told by Ron Logan was true after all. And secondly, Richard Allen was not a guilty man after all. This left 2 uncharged men, and now back to 3 uncharged again. McLeland knew this as family communicated that the letters were passed on to McLeland. So he's like, well, you had 3 men who are guilty. Richard Allen's one of them that was charged, but so then you had 2 others that weren't, and now you're back to 3 that aren't because you charged one, but he didn't commit the crime. So now there's still 3 people out there that should be charged. So that's what, like, I think that's what he was trying to say. After Richard Allen's conviction, McClellan got on TV live, receiving his many pats on his back, and told the families of the girls and the community, quote, he has not been aware of any other suspects. That was the first question by the media. As you recall, that they all asked him, were there other suspects? And he said he wasn't aware of any. When we know there are multiple suspects, many people who said things that could have implicated themselves, and none of them were Richard Allen. He says, I'm not asking to be believed. I'm asking for people to ask questions, follow the evidence, and let them, poor victims, have justice as well as the jury settle. Richard Allen's jury with all the facts, not distorted by the DA, covering up cover ups. covering up cover ups. This is what McClelland did not want heard. My only question is, McClelland, can you sleep at night? But can you really, though? I like this guy. Pray for them girls and families, free the innocent, seek the guilty, and stand for true justice for all, good and bad. Ricci Davis. And yikes, right? Craziness. All right, this next portion was also an exhibit to Nick McClelland's um, motion in response to the defense's motion to preserve evidence. So this is like a text chain. I guess they can text like on their tablets or something. So this is some kind of text or communication that they have the ability to do. And I am going to zoom in a lot more because it's very hard to read and blurry. Um, so these are all incoming. I'll tell you when it's outgoing. So first of all, this one says, here's 10 credits. I'll send you 4 separately. Here's the rest. Then this person says about Ricci Davis. So this is the subject line and this is the body. We want to reach out to you. I think that this we is the Murder Sheet podcast. We wanted to reach out to you to see if you had heard about the most recent filing in the Richard Allen case. One of Allen's trial attorneys claims that he spoke with Ricci Davis and that Ricci Davis talked to him about you. According to Davis, you made comments to him indicating that you were aware of the homicides, that Ron Logan was too, and that you had info only the perpetrators would know. Do you have any comments on any of this? This one is another individual. I don't know if it's the same person or not, but, and these are all, so by the way, these were coming in this year, February. So these are all very recent. This next one, February 15th, someone texts Keegan Klein saying, says, Hi, Keegan. I'm not sure if you are talking to anyone who keeps you updated about when you are being mentioned in legal filings, but on February 14th, Richard Allen's defense attorney, Andrew Baldwin, filed a motion that referenced you being involved in the Delphi homicides, February 12th, 2025. Baldwin met with Ricci Davis, an inmate who previously talked about Ron Logan confessing to him. Davis told Baldwin that he met both Keegan Klein and Ron Logan at Newcastle. Logan confessed to being involved in the Delphi homicides and 2 other people, but never said that never said that they were, although he revealed details only the perpetrator would know. March 2024. Keegan Klein was placed near Davis, and KK asked if Logan mentioned KK's name, and Davis began to realize KK may have been one of the other 2 perpetrators. KK revealed details of the homicides that corroborated details Logan told Davis that only the perpetrators would know. These conversations continued until Richard Allen was found guilty in November 2025, and KK told Davis that he was relieved he would no longer be a suspect. KK told Davis that Richard Allen was not the 3rd perpetrator, and Keegan Klein told Ricci that Allen was not the 3rd perpetrator, and Allen was not involved in the homicides of Abby and Libby. KK told Davis that he knew Ron Logan from trading, you know, uh, exploitative images and things like that, and sharing burner phones, and would meet every 3 to 6 months to show Logan how to use the phones. That's it. Baldwin filed the motion because he said Allen's defense never received 8 letters that Ricci said he sent to Nick McClelland, or a videotaped police interview of Davis, and that the defense could have used that information to show that Ron Logan You were involved in the homicides and Richard Allen is innocent. Is this stuff true? How would you describe Reese Davis? Is he unreliable, making stuff up? Apparently, he took a polygraph about what he said Ron Logan confessed to and failed miserably. So that's the leak that Nick McLeland's like, oh no, he failed miserably when polygraphs are not even reliable. Some of the details were included in a court filing and did not match up to the case and crime scene facts. Thanks. Another incoming says, just a heads up, Holly is back at it and she plans on contacting you to get details. I have no idea what that's about. This one is a response to somebody. He says, that dude, meaning Reese, is an idiot. I've only talked to him maybe 2 times. He's one of the guys in prison that tries to write all different prosecutors and get time cuts on people's case. It's laughable. He also pimps himself out for commissary and drugs. He's a complete loser and drug addict. Coming from Keegan, that's, not really believable, but cool. This next one is also an outgoing. He says, LOL, that's so funny. He's so stupid. If anyone could see who Reese really is, he writes a bunch of prosecutors on people's cases, saying a bunch of lies, and to get a cut, to get a time cut. I've talked to the dude maybe 2 times. The police know I had nothing to do with that and I have no clue who Ron Logan was until people told me. Reese goes by the name Ghost. He is a drug addict loser, the worst of the worst in prison. He pimps himself out for commissary and pills. I wish I could have known all this when he was here, lol. I needed a good laugh, thank you. Hope all is good with you and the fires in LA. Be safe, man. Have a good one. And then this is another outgoing one. He says, yeah, I'm not worried about her at all. That was about that Holly person. So it doesn't matter. We don't need to read that one. Not related. Not what we need to read. Um, yeah, this is the next page. Sorry. Okay. So this is an incoming one. It says, "Yeah, we had trouble believing Reese Davis's story because it didn't sound realistic for you to just go up to this guy and start saying stuff like that. It didn't make any sense. It just didn't sound like something you would do. You mentioned talking to him twice. Did he ask you about Delphi? This is, I think, Murder Sheet podcast again. Do you remember what you talked about with him? Like they asked so many questions, they're trying to dig for information too. How do you feel about getting dragged into this? Long shot, but do you know of any prosecutors he's written to or people whose cases he's worked on? No worries if not. Just just figured we ask. So, yeah, do you have proof that he does this thing or no? You're just going to lie about him and say he contacts all these prosecutors. Are there other people there that might be willing to write to us about Reese Davis if we reached out to them? We will probably talk about this on our show. That's what makes me think that this is the Murder Sheet podcast. Is there anything else you feel we should know about him and the story he is telling about you? You should also know that he is saying that you told him that you would meet with Ron Logan every few months to help him access child essay materials. Did you know Logan at all? Here's another incoming. It says, she didn't say much about him. She posted online that your dad was giving you 5K at a time to keep quiet, and that when you got a subpoena, you got her to call Rosie and tell him if they transported you, you would plead the fifth. So, Rosie, Richard Allen's attorney, they, he said that if they tried to bring him into court, he would just plead the fifth and he wouldn't be any help. So there's that. Another incoming one says, I appreciate you clearing that up. It was scary with the fires and blah, blah, blah. He talks about the fires. Okay, we don't need to read that one. This one is an incoming, or I'm sorry, it's an outgoing. This is one that Keegan Klein wrote. in response to one of the ones that we read. He says, "No, I'm not sure, but I know that it was about a homicide at Michigan City years ago. Yeah, I talked to him about my lawsuit against ISP due to me getting stabbed, and no, I don't know anyone that would talk. Everyone feels the same about him, though he is a joke. No, I didn't know Ron Logan or anything about that case. If I did, I wouldn't be in prison for 43 years for a few pictures. I lost my best friend, being my dad, over all of the lies all these other people have said that I said about him. It's crazy. I hate being brought back into all of this, especially over the most outlandish lies that you could imagine." And finally, someone sends him a message that says, "Well, it appears that you are in the spotlight once again, lol." And then his response is, "Yeah, it's so stupid. I can't believe they're putting all this stuff on the news when it's not even true. I wish you could see how stupid this guy is. LOL. I've talked to him maybe 2 times, and it was about me getting stabbed and my lawsuit. It's insane. Hope you're doing good," and blah, 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 blah. So there you go. He's getting a new tablet. So that is what I have for you on this one. This is I think there was a lot more content in the Ricci letters that we didn't get to see. Ricci says he sent about 7 or 8 letters, and those letters, only 2 of them were ever disclosed to the defense, and they were only disclosed once the defense is like, "Hey, by the way, can we have that stuff?" And then put it in a motion that they didn't get this stuff because they asked for this. They asked for these things repeatedly, and Nick McClelland ignored the requests. This is a huge, tremendous Brady violation, and I hope that the defense can use this to their advantage to try to vacate the conviction, um, throw out the charges. I don't know, but this is huge. So let me know what you guys think about Nick McLeland hiding evidence, hiding these letters from Keegan Klein that they can't recover because they were sent with. So there was an interview that Reese said that he sent maybe like 4 or 5 separate letters, but within those letters, he had multiple letters inside each mailing, if that makes sense. And then he would also have letters from Keegan Klein that Keegan wrote, and he would put those in with his mailings as well and send that to Nick. So that just proves that there is. I mean, Nick even admits it in his filing that he didn't turn over the 3 letters. He said he received 3, he could only produce 2. So Brady violation. I really hope. I don't know. I don't like crooked prosecutors, and I want them to get their comeuppance. So that is what we should all be hoping for. And Richard Allen's freedom and justice for Abby and Libby. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit the like button on your way out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye now.